Greetings to you, conversationalists all across the fruited plain. Rush Limbaugh, here we are, back again. Gee, the time went by fast since we were last with you. We're here for another 3 hours of fun, broadcast excellence, frivolity, and a serious discussion of the issues which matter. Here's telephone number, my friends. You'd like to be on the program today, 800-282-2882. Now, we're going to have William Ginsburg update today. He's back with an explanation of why Monica went to Broad Beach in Malibu. That's the name of the beach in Malibu. I wonder, she posted those photos there for Vanity Fair and Hard Copy Spotted, and I wonder if they chose Broad Beach or if she chose Broad Beach. Whatever. It's fitting. Whoever chose it. In so many ways. So many ways. We also have an SUV update today, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, more news about your SUV and a timber update coming up on the program. We are actually loaded with stuff today, and I also want to point out this is something amazing. I had some phone calls from people last night who were stunned that the National Honor Society unwed mother story was so big on the program yesterday. I said, I'm not surprised at that at all. Were you guys surprised? I wasn't surprised. I mean, that's back door, backyard. That's kids. That's education. It's in the school. It's right versus wrong, good versus bad, the definition of standards and so forth. I mean, I can tell you, I think the cultural and ethical issues have this nation captivated. And one of the big myths is that people don't care about that stuff. And a reason that myth survives is because Clinton gets a pass on it. But believe me, you know, where people live their lives, and that is not Washington, D.C., where people live their lives, this stuff matters. We set an email record on this program yesterday with this subject. We set an email record. A lot of people, Mr. Snerdley, a lot of people siding with you. A lot of people siding with HR. Some of the people that were calling, well, I should say writing, recognize the toughie that this is if you look at it ideologically, if you look at it conservative versus liberal. And it was just fascinating. We got more email in one day, and the amount of mail during the 3-hour program yesterday set a record. And the previous record was set during the first week of the Monica Lewinsky stuff back in January. This edged that out. It didn't blow it away, but it edged it out. And there are some companion stories to that today that really has nothing to do with the specifics of that story, but there are teen pregnancy stories today about how some people think it's on the rise and what we ought to do to fix it, such as spend more money. I don't understand how that works, so we'll run the story by you. What is this? Yeah, but I thought about what you said and positioned it. So you agree with me now, Mr. Snerdley? Well, don't give up your position. I mean, if you don't have to kiss up. You're not kissing up? Okay, you don't have to kiss up. Okay, because what I am, don't roll your eyes in there, HR. I mean, yeah. Okay, says HR's upset. See, he won't say he agrees with me, but he'll say he agrees with you. So you think he's kissing up. Yeah, well, I don't. I think Mr. Snerdley is an independent thinker and applies his own passion and life experiences to these things. Snerdley's a smart guy, folks. No question. HR's smart. We're all smart people here. That's why we're where we are in our careers. Mamone's a smart guy when he chooses to display it. And I'll tell you this, though, on this whole topic yesterday, it is a toughie, and it isn't easy. That's a good friend of mine last night. I still don't know what I think about this. And a lot of people are of that frame of mind. Well, the fireworks continued on the floor of the House today. This is 1 minute speech day on the floor of the House, and the Republicans continued pummeling the president not being above the rule of law. They continued to pummel the Democrats on Dan Burton's committee for failing to vote to grant immunity to some witnesses who could help us unlock the truth here. And the bottom line is that it appears that the Democratic Party position on this is, look, the truth doesn't matter here because whatever it is isn't a big deal. What's a bigger deal is how the prosecutors are out of control. And of course, the bottom line here is, let me explain something to you folks. I want to put this in perspective for you, and I want you to think about this. The Democrats are really in a tough situation. Despite the appearance of things, they are losing seats nationally, locally, and at state level. They're losing seats. And what is their lifeline? Bill Clinton. That's why they are supporting Clinton, because Clinton is the titular head of the party. And it's the party that's in deep trouble. They're looking at the year 2000 and the possibility of losing the White House and the Republicans controlling the White House and Congress for the first time in 60 years. It's been that long. And that just is a frightening thought. And so that they are clearly putting partisanship above the rule of law here for the sake of their own party survival. And that's why I will bet you that in the privacy of some Democratic conversations, they are just beside themselves that they are having to stick their necks out for Bill Clinton. Because they know. I mean, everybody does. But they have no choice if they're to be loyal to their party. And I think they're in trouble. Cato Byrne, I, as a powerful, influential member of the media, I have here, my friends, an advance copy of a Cato Byrne column coming up in what looks like the May 18th, May 18th issue of National Review. And her column is entitled Paper Tiger. And it's a very provocative piece. She says the charge that Republicans are presiding over a do-nothing Congress is wrong. The GOP is doing something very real, effectively blocking the entire second-term agenda of the say-nothing president. In recent days, the GOP has won legislative battles on education funding for education, it's a poor quality facts here, funding for the IMF and human rights, and it may just be getting started. The strong economy bolsters Clinton's job approval numbers, but he lacks the credibility and authority to win policy battles on Capitol Hill. In fact, when he endorses measures these days, it only seems to make them less likely to pass. Clinton has acquired a reverse Midas touch. And she goes on, I'll read you some more excerpts from this. But there are things happening. It all started last week, I got the sense, and then Newt's GOPAC speech Monday night's lit a fire. Now, one thing about that, Fox News is reporting today, and I didn't see this, Cookie saw it and told me, Fox News is reporting that the Republican strategy is to hit Clinton and the Democrats on this above the law, above the rule of law stuff, and the immunity for these 4 witnesses that the Democrats won't vote to grant at Burton's committee. They're going to hit that only through Thursday, and then they're going to let it go. Cookie told me that when I walked in. I said, what? Yeah, that's what they're reporting, that it's going to hit it Thursday and let it go. So I made a phone call. I called the man. I called Newt. I said, Fox News is reporting that this is basically just a 3-day hit and that it's all over Thursday. And I said, I thought I heard you say Monday night in your speech that you're going to mention this in every speech you make from now till the end of time. He said, we're not stopping anything on Thursday. We're going to give them a chance to do the right thing on the vote for immunity. And if they don't, we're going to transfer it to a committee that'll get it done. We're not stopping anything. And I want you to listen. So that report is erroneous. I want to let you listen to the passage from Newt's speech Monday night at GOPAC, where he explains why all of a sudden he's decided to go public with all this.
The reason I've decided to speak out, and I will never again, as long as I'm Speaker, make a speech without commenting on this topic. The turning point for me last week was, frankly, in the Government Reform Committee. When the Democratic leader, Henry Waxman, announced this is all partisan and we're going to vote no on every single grant of immunity, and by 19-0, the Democrats voted for cover-up. And I was stunned. I'd grown up, I was a young professor at West Georgia College during Watergate. I watched Howard Baker. I watched Sam Ervin. I watched the search. Do you all remember? What did you know and when did you know it? Do you remember Howard Baker trying to hold the country together? Do you remember the decision by Republican leaders that they had to be patriots first? And I said, and let me tell you what they voted no on, 19-0. There were 4 names. I mean, I was so startled that I spent the whole weekend agonizing over this because I couldn't believe it.
And that basically is it. The 4 names, these are the witnesses that the Justice Department has cleared the granting of immunity to, so to find out what they know. These are the 4 witnesses that can link John Wong, perhaps, to the funny money stuff. And the Democrats vote 19-0 not to grant immunity. And that, I guess, as far as Newt was concerned, was it. Now, the White House, via Mike McCurry, is in their typical response mode. Story today, intensifying a war of words with Republicans. The Clinton administration suggested that it could not do business with House Speaker Newt Gingrich until, quote, he comes back to his senses. Gingrich, of course, accused, meanwhile, the administration of impeding Congress's investigation of campaign finance irregularities. Said the Democrats have engaged in a cover-up on behalf of the White House. Noting that Gingrich runs the House, Mike McCurry said, quote, we're going to have to do business with him sooner or later, and as soon as he comes back to his senses, we'll do business. He's the one that indicates that he's going to go off on this tirade, so we'll let him go. That, frankly, is irresponsible, but typical of this White House. So what you have here is the Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, but it doesn't matter who, any Republican, me, calling for honesty and virtue and a recognition that the rule of law triumphs everything in this country. And anybody who says that is accused of being partisan, because apparently honesty and virtue are now conservative values or issues. So honesty and virtue, doing the right thing, that's partisanship because the Republicans stand for it. So does it mean that the opposite of those things are Democratic issues? Is that what they're trying to tell us? I'll make that connection for you. Is lying, deceit, and covering up, those are Democratic values, and that's the definition of the partisanship today? It's ridiculous. And you go back and remember that McCurry, when working for Bob Kerrey in 1992, said he could never work for a guy like Clinton because he lies too much. My gosh, we'd have all this trouble. Remember that? Anyway, we got some stuff from the floor of the House today on 1-minute speeches. Some of it's pretty good. We got Rosa DeLauro. We got James Traficant. We got J.C. Watts. We got Tom DeLay. We got your phone calls. We've got an SUV update. We got timber updates. Been a while. We've got a William Ginsburg update today. And a whole lot of other stuff, too, folks. You're just going to have to sit there and wait for it to unfold right before your very eyes. Stay with us. And, by the way, we will get the administration's opposition of the will of the people in the state of California, bilingual education, Prop 227. That's coming up today, too. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, talent on loan from God. One of the, and I must say, I haven't had a chance to read all those multi-thousands of emails. I must tell you, I feel fortunate that I have an email program that'll handle that much. That you people don't. Anyway, one of the notes, and anybody can send you anything, so you don't know what's true and what isn't. The guy says, hey, he didn't specify when. He says, I was a member of National Honor Society when I was high school, and The president of our chapter was a woman, a girl who had a daughter. She's unmarried. Nobody thought anything about it then. But if you smoked, you didn't have a prayer of getting in the National Honor Society. Huh. He didn't say where. He just could have been making the whole thing up. But it's funny. Now, there are a couple more stories here about teen pregnancy. The United States should spend more to prevent teen pregnancy, says a youth advocacy group. They're urging Americans to face the fact that over 12 million U.S. teens are sexually active. Now, that number is, I don't know if this number is even accurate, these guys, but we remember Claudia Barlow, Independent Women's Forum, sent us stats yesterday. Teen pregnancy is actually declining. And you find the greatest incidence of teen pregnancy in other lifestyle pursuits, such as drug abuse, girls who have tattoos and stuff like this. I mean, it goes on and on. Well, I mean, it's there. It's what it says. And the cases, incidents of sexually transmitted diseases are also higher of people who do drugs and drink and this sort of stuff. And a more virtuous, of course, it makes sense, a more virtuous life they lead, the less teen pregnancy you find. It's actually declining. But anyway, this bunch, what's the name of this bunch? Advocates for Youth. Advocates for Youth released a new study that showed the federal government spends $39.3 billion every year. That's about $400 per American household to support families resulting from teenagers giving birth, while spending only $131 million annually, about $1.32 per household, to prevent teen pregnancy. Excuse me, the federal government's in this business? What's wrong here? Of course, you spend $400 per house for teen pregnancy. What's the message? You want $400? Go get pregnant. And $1.32 to prevent it. Now, what can the federal government do to prevent it? What can the federal government do to and the notion in some people's minds that the federal government can effectively do something about this is what's wrong. So how does spending more money stop? They're pitching for more money here. Advocates for Youth say we're not spending enough money. We need more money for this program. What's that going to do? How does we know spending money doesn't make kids smarter, doesn't teach them anymore, doesn't help them learn things. How is spending more money going to have any impact at all on teen pregnancy? What, more warning signs? Story out of Little Rock. 16-year-old Arkansas high school student and the 4 daughters to whom she gave birth Monday are in satisfactory condition and progressing well, the doctors said yesterday. The mother is 16 years old, and that's a risk factor in and of itself for poor pregnancy performance. Huh? What, poor pregnancy performance? PPP. Each additional baby makes the chance of premature birth even more real, said Dr. Paul Wendell, who delivered these babies. The father, a 19-year-old Patrick Terrell, said he and the mother, Erin Belcher, would eventually get married. We've talked about it, but we want to get a handle on everything. She wants to get through high school and college first and maybe join the National Honor Society. No, I'm threw that in there. They both live in DeQueen, Arkansas. It's a small farming community near the border with Oklahoma. Well, see, if we'd just spent more money here with this family, this wouldn't have happened, right? Or at least maybe only 2 babies instead of 4. I want to... he's 19, she's 16, statutory rape. Arkansas, I don't know. North Georgia, I don't know. No, they can't be related because they have different last names. Don't say that. Don't say that. See, they tease me. Put this stuff in the IFB. They wouldn't say it if they were hosting. Oh, but Rush will do it. Rush is brave. Rush is courageous. Rush will walk the tightrope. Rush will push the edge of the envelope. He can take it. So, the stories are out there. We've also got This is a sad, sad story. Two former jailers being held at their former workplace. That means they're in jail. On charges they traded cigarettes for sex with female inmates. What is this world coming to? Cigarettes for sex. You know, I'm told there's already a black market of cigarettes developing up there, or out there, already developing, in anticipation of what might end up being a $5 per pack total price. We'll come back with Congressman Trafficant on the floor of the House after this brief timeout on the EIB network. Stay with us. Cutting edge of societal evolution. Rush Limbaugh serving humanity. 1-800-282-2882. Let's take you to the floor of the House of Representatives. Some fascinating one-minute speeches today. First, our favorite Democrat, Congressman James Trafficant from, what's the smirk? Oh, you love Trafficant. Okay. I never know. You know, you guys in there, you're smirking around like you got some surprise planned. That I don't know is coming, but I'm going to see it or hear it briefly. Well, here's Trafficant today, this morning, on the floor of the House.
Mr. Speaker, after the Arkansas tragedy where 4 students and a teacher were killed by 2 youngsters, the shooting death of a Pennsylvania teacher, John Gillette, has shocked America. Experts are confused and they say searching for answers. The irony is these same experts, with all their degrees, have one thing in common. Most of them oppose school prayer. In fact, time and time again, they have employed constitutional mumbo-jumbo to kill school prayer. They just don't get it. A school without God is a school without education. A school without God is a school without discipline. A school without God is a school without values, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe experts will finally get the message that a school without God is a playground for the demon. The Congress should allow school prayer. I yield back any common sense left in Washington.
Ooh, the demon. Ooh, Beelzebub. Beelzebubba. Beelzebubba. Whatever makes the boat. Beasley boob. Man, that's a giant yes to Congressman Trafficant. He's a Democrat. Amazing. Now we cut to Rosa DeLauro. She's the wife of Stanley Greenberg. Now the subject matter here is going to turn to smoking. A big legislation pending. Congressman DeLauro, the wife of Stanley Greenberg, the man who used to do all the polling data for the President of the United States, and she's one of the ringleaders in the House. Before these one-minute speeches, she gathers the Democrats together in a little anteroom, and they all plot their strategy, and they all basically end up saying the same things with minor variations, speech after speech after speech, called repetition. Here is Ms. Rosa DeLauro.
Mr. Speaker, the Republican leadership is playing politics with their refusal to act on one of the most addictive drugs around, nicotine. The truth is that according to the Center for Disease Control, teens who smoke are 3 times more likely than non-smokers to use alcohol, 8 times more likely to use marijuana, and 22 times more likely to use cocaine. Yet the Republican leadership refuses to bring legislation to the floor of this House that could drastically reduce teen smoking, perhaps because the tobacco companies are the single largest corporate contributors to the Republican Party. Every day the Republican leadership fails to schedule debate on the tobacco issue, 3,000 more American kids will pick up this deadly habit, and 1,000 of them will eventually die of a tobacco-related illness.
Stop the tape. Let me see. This is another one of these figures that's being thrown. It's like 3 million homeless. And there never were. 3,000 kids will pick up deadly habit every day. Now, okay, let's just accept it. 3,000 will pick up the habit. 1,000 will die. What about the other 2,000? This was responded to by J.C. Watts.
Mr. Speaker, some people say their primary reason for supporting new tobacco taxes is protecting children, but the same people have constantly dropped the ball when it comes to protecting children in other areas. So I get a little suspicious when I'm asked to support a cigarette tax as a way to save the children. Consider this. Many folks who say they support a cigarette tax as a way of protecting teenagers are all too happy to allow my 13-year-old daughter to go to a Title X clinic and be counseled on having an abortion without my or her mother's consent. So much for protecting children from dangerous influences. So much for saving children. Furthermore, many people who support a cigarette tax as a way to stop teenage smoking won't lift a finger to stop some public schools from giving my daughters free condoms without my permission. So much for protecting children from dangerous influences. Also, Mr. Speaker, some people who say they're working to prevent teenagers from smoking won't lift a finger to prevent kids from gaining access to free drug needles. So much for protecting children from dangerous influences. Furthermore, some who say they're in favor of a cigarette tax as a means to protect children are not in favor of allowing kids to organize prayer in school. Thanks to these people, groups of kids can't organize prayer and talk about protecting their day. Think about it, America. Is a cigarette plan a tax to save our children from smoking cigarettes, or is it really a plan about helping Washington, D.C., helping itself to more power and more money to fund more government bureaucracy?
They are attacking, ladies and gentlemen, and pointing out the hypocrisy. They're fighting back, I'm telling you. They're sitting here and they're fired up, and they're not letting these Democrats get away with all this stuff. Tom DeLay on the same subject.
Mr. Speaker, hypocrisy is a very tough word, so I won't use it in the context of the president's stance on tobacco. But let me just say that the president has his priorities wrong when it comes to his policies regarding children's health. While he spends much of his time bashing tobacco, he's turned a blind eye to the skyrocketing problem of drug abuse in this country. Over 20,000 children a year die as a result of illegal drugs in this country. But the president's response has been to throw in the towel when it comes to the war on drugs. In fact, last week, he not only condoned but endorsed the free distribution of needles to heroin addicts. While the president is taking a cigarette from a teenager, he's giving them a condom and a needle to shoot up with heroin. I think the president needs to get his priorities straight, Mr. Speaker. We should stop children from smoking, but first, we need to stop children from using illegal drugs.
Here's the dirty little secret. The reason why they're not going after drugs is because drugs are illegal, and as such, there aren't any companies associated with it that you can tax or otherwise financially rape. What we need to do is legalize the Cali cartel. We need to legalize marijuana and have companies formed to produce it. Let the government regulate it. Same thing with cocaine, crack, crank, PCP, ecstasy. And then we're going after cigarettes and tobacco as though it's the worst and most hideous thing out there, and these other things are far more deadly, far more potentially instantaneously deadly than cigarettes. But we can't get to this stuff because it's not legal. So legalize it. Regulate it. And then turn the trial lawyers on these people. Soak them, rape them. Well, that's the difference. Why can't we do to drugs what we're doing to cigarettes? The big answer is drugs are illegal, and as such, we can't regulate it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that is the interesting point, too. Rosa DeLauro is trying to make it look like tobacco's the gateway drug to all these other things. If they smoke, they're going to do cocaine. They're going to do... It's the other way around. I mean, wouldn't you rather have... I like Michael Kelly's point last week. Says, I love this demonization of tobacco because that's going to turn kids right to it. And I'd much rather have my kids smoking a Lucky Strike in the backyard than shooting up any heroin in the backyard. So thank you, Mr. President. for steering kids to the least dangerous vice of all the vices there is or are. Thank you. Quick break. We'll be back. I'm going to get to your phone calls right after this break, folks. I know you've been patient, and it'll be rewarded. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
The most listened to 3 hours of radio in Los Angeles. The Rush Limbaugh program and the Excellence in Broadcasting Network on our powerhouse affiliate KFI AM 640. Here's Andrea, Tillamook, Oregon. I'm glad you waited. Andrea, thank you.
Good morning, triple SUV dittos from the land of cheese, trees, and ocean breeze.
What is this triple SUV? Does that mean you have 3?
You bet.
Oh.
We have a minivan, a pickup, and an off-road vehicle.
Huh. Excess. Conspicuous consumption, flaunting your wealth at those less fortunate who can only afford little tin can lawnmowers with seats on them.
Actually, we live below the poverty level, and we're self-employed.
How'd you get 3 of them if you live below the poverty level? You getting a lot
Some
of
of
that
them are
teen
really
pregnancy
old.
money?
No, some of them are really old.
Oh. See?
One of them is 20 years old.
20 years old, but you've taken care of it. It still runs, and it'll run any rabbit off the road.
You betcha.
There you go.
I was calling because I thought that the Speaker of the House appointed committee members at the beginning of each session, and I understood that whatever party was in the majority had a majority of committee members on every committee, and I'm wondering
That's true.
Why can't they outvote those 19 Democrats on the immunity?
They can, but they don't have enough for a majority.
There's not a majority of Republicans.
No, there is
on
a majority of Republicans. It's not. They don't have enough. Look. I think I can't. If your question is why didn't they stack it with Republicans, I really can't tell you that. I can only guess.
All they need is one more, don't they? I mean, if they have 20 Republicans,
I think, no,
can't they do it?
no. For you need 2/3 of the committee to immunize witnesses,
Oh,
and they
okay.
don't.
I didn't
and
understand
you need
that.
some Democrats to go along. This particular committee or subcommittee has been, I think, populated the way it is so that it they would avoid any charge of stacking the community or committee. There's no provision that says you can put 100% Republicans on the committee. You can't do that. It has to be, I think, pretty much in proportion with the general membership of the House.
Yeah, I didn't realize they needed 2/3. I thought that they needed
to
one more.
grant immunity. To grant immunity to witness, you need 2/3.
Okay.
But they are. What they're going to do, if the Democrats in this committee don't come around, they're going to send this to a different committee that is stacked.
Well, that would be good.
That's right. They're going to get it done. They're going to send it to a committee where they can get 2/3 vote to immunize them. And then you wait till the fur is going to really fly then. Wait till you hear the 1-minute speeches on that. Wait till you hear Henry Waxman go crazy on that when that happens. And that's what I think they're going to wait for Thursday on. I'm going to give the Democrats one more shot at maybe doing the right thing here, and then they're going to move it to another committee and grant these people immunity. Don't forget now, the Clinton Justice Department's already granted the permission here to extend immunity to these people. Clinton's own Justice Department has done that. But see, I think they do that knowing full well that they're going to get a 19-0 unified vote with the Democrats on the committee. Jack in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, you're next. Welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. Hello.
Hi, Rush. Honor to speak to you.
Thank you very much.
First, let me start by saying I'm a social conservative and probably more conservative in social matters than you are, but I think you're missing the point on this honor society controversy. Let me preface this by telling you that I'm not really concerned about violation of discrimination laws or the rights of these two parties. I think that's more an ACLU issue. But there's a whole other reason that this issue is hot, and that's because it is timely. It's about how do we define character and how Americans see that. So for us conservatives, I think we need to redefine the issue for ourselves. And let's start, you and me, agreeing that we both want to uphold virtue in society through whatever means, as long as they don't lead to injustice. And furthermore, to do that. Saudi Arabia is a theocracy. They do it that way. We got to do it within the meaning of the Constitution. I think the issue should be about social control and not about morals. I think that's where we part on this. We agree on the morals. And
what do you mean social control?
Well, here, listen. I think both you and me agree that there are universal truths.
Speak for yourself. Don't. I mean, you're what you've done here twice is you've assumed that I agree with you about something for the sake of your argument.
Well, yesterday you said you agree that premarital sex is wrong for teenagers to engage in.
I do, but just all I'm suggesting, make your argument, because I don't know what you think you might have heard me say yet.
Okay, well, I think the issue, there are different ways to promote those things that we value. And I think 50 years ago, it would have been a different situation, because the status quo was that there was no premarital sex. Today, that's a joke. I mean, there's no stigma to that. And the stigma is not a sexual teenager, it's a pregnant teenager. And we have to understand that this happens a lot today in society. And given that we're losing the battle on values to some degree, it's a hard battle to fight every day. That does not mean we have to compromise our views. We're not encouraging premarital sex by upholding this person. I don't think anyone is horrified that she had sex, only that she's a teen mom. So let us work with that and say that she made a mistake, like the majority of teens. The mistake is not that she got pregnant, but is that she was having sex. Society doesn't see it that way. They're up in arms with guns, but teen sex, what do? They tell them to be careful rather to not do it. I mean, hell, even the school system is that way. So I guess what I'm saying, Rush, these are our times, so how do we reach our goals of setting about the right message? And Americans, I think, why don't we take this opportunity today to say what character is about, because Americans seem not to understand character issues.
Well, I tell you, I don't know about Americans.
You look at the president.
I don't understand what you're saying at all.
Okay.
Wait just a second. I'm going to tell you what I think you're saying. But this is a wild guess. You're saying because teen sex and premarital sex among teenagers and even becoming an unwed mother is just part and parcel of being a teenager today, we have to accept that as the norm and not be critical of it, because that's the way our society is today. As conservatives, we must recognize this is the way things are and go from that point. Is that right?
No. I could see where you think that, because I'm walking a fine line. What I'm saying is character refers also to those who deal with a problem valiantly, even if they created the problem. And I don't want to be a conservative if it's like what you're saying. To me, conservatism doesn't mean that you do not sin, but rather that you recognize your wrong dealings and deal with the problem with character. And I think a lot of liberals don't understand that. That's why they always bring in religion into an argument when you didn't even mention religion. They don't have a concept.
Well, I must also tell you that I'm not looking at this on conservative or liberal grounds anyway. I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm a conservative, so therefore what should my opinion be on this? I'm not doing that. I'm looking at it far more fundamentally, and I think it's the fundamentals here that some people don't want to accept. You may be one. I'm still not certain. The fundamental to me is that premarital sex is wrong. Another fundamental is that becoming an unwed mother is wrong, and it's not good. There are far better ways to do it. Just because it's normal does not mean we should accept it as normal. And because in doing so, we lower our standards. And we have an organization, the National Honor Society, which has a rule that says that unwed mothers and boys who have fathered out of wedlock children are not qualified for membership in the society. I mean, it's really not all that complicated to me. You complicate it by applying your analysis of the actions of this particular girl after she got pregnant and what she decided to do, and that is where I think the ideology is coming into this. I think the tendency here, a lot of people want to complicate this and in the process then try to show how thoughtful they are and how deep they can be and how enlightened and open-minded and tolerant and all that they can be. And I appreciate that. I know everybody wants to be thought of as smart and thoughtful and enlightened and open-minded and tolerant and all that. I don't think you need to go that far to reach a conclusion about this. At any rate, I'm up against it on time. I'm not much left on the other side of this break, so we got to take it. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. Rush Limbaugh, the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to take a call here. We have less than a minute before the end of the hour, and next call up is about this National Honor Society stuff, and I don't think, and I want to pressure somebody into trying to make their point here in 45 seconds. Only professionals are able to get in, get it, and get out. And I'm speaking verbally. Brevity is the soul of wit, said William Shakespeare. So we will come back to this, but we're going to be hopscotching all over the place. I'm going to be honest, I don't want this thing to dominate the whole program today. But it can on the phone, it's fine. But I got other things that I have to do here, talk about, keep you up to speed on. So be prepared. You're not going to know what's coming next. That's always the way it is. But we will be back shortly. That you can count on.